time is 6:31. We'll call this meeting to order. Everybody will bow their heads. Dear God, we ask that you give us the wisdom to make good decisions based on the information that we receive for the benefit of all of our residents and our neighbors in our area. And we ask that you put your hedge of protection over us, our city, our citizens, and our men and women, not only in law enforcement, but in the military, no matter whether they're here or overseas, that you protect them in all the things that they do. In your name we pray. Amen. Lorna, would you like to lead us in the pledges? Now, I will tell you the one thing about here is some of the other city council meetings I've been to or other meetings that I've attended, they do the United States Pledge. They don't do the Texas Pledge. There's a lot of places that have done away with that half of it. I'm glad we still do it. All right. Rules of decorum are in effect, guys. Basically, that means we act like adults. We treat others with respect when they are speaking, and I expect others to treat you with respect when you're speaking. All right, before we start citizens' comments, I know the first thing up after that is the RCH Water Supply Company is going to give us an update and explain a little bit about what's going on with them. I expect everybody to be adults, not to interrupt them, not to start making any kind of uncalled for or unprofessional statements, noises, anything like that, okay? We're going to treat each other with respect. There's been enough issues with people treating their fellow neighbors with little respect concerning water. So I expect that out of everybody. All right. First up in citizens' comments is Mr. Tom Ritz. She's going to turn the mic on for you real quick. Yeah, you have to have it on so that they've got it recorded. It's not. I don't think it's on yet. There it is. All right. Now go ahead.
Okay. And I was going to read the article that I wrote, that I put out on Facebook and Nextdoor, but you only give me 3 minutes. So it might take a little longer than that. So I'll just summarize. But
Okay.
basically, we all know that we got a water situation and it's pretty bad. And that when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's what I think has happened with RCH. And that they've been saying that they've, you know, I've been doing a little looking of my own, but the ones who've really done some digging is Adrian Balcom and Sherry London. They've gotten down and gotten all kinds of facts, all kinds of interesting things. And one thing that I really don't understand, and that is, how can we allow more connections when we don't have enough water for us right now? I've always been taught that in politics, you go follow the money. So I want to ask you people, who can authorize connections? Is it RCH or is it the cities? Who? Does anybody have an answer?
We can't answer you, sir.
What?
We can't answer you during citizens' comments.
You can't answer?
Not during comments.
Okay, well then after the meeting I'll ask you. 'Cause that's what I want to know, because I think that if people here have the ability to grant new connections, and they do it while we're in this terrible situation, I'd consider that dereliction of duty. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sherry, you're next.
Hi, my name is Sherry London. I live at 216 Harvest Ridge Drive. Since the last city council meeting, I've talked to more people and done more research. I've learned that RCH has a legal obligation to provide a continuous and adequate supply of water to the customers in its territory. By allowing a monopoly to supply a territory, the law actually requires they actually supply that territory. And if it fails to do that, I've also now learned about actions our regulatory agencies can take to force compliance. But I've also learned those agencies don't really like policing our water suppliers. My review of agency records shows that 2 years ago, RCH was put on notice they were exceeding their storage capacity 92%. And by the way, 85%, when you reach 85% of your storage capacity, you're required to submit a plan. And then in 2021, their inspection showed they were at 97% of their storage capacity. And over a year ago, they did submit a plan for an additional water tower, actually in May of 2021, which was approved in July. And I'm not sure why it didn't come before the city until nearly a year later. But storage is not the same as water supply. And RCH was also put on notice by the TCEQ 2 years ago that they were not meeting their peak daily demand, and in fact, by 32 days out of the year, 2 years ago. And I've seen no plan to address that issue in TCEQ files. RCH usage records make it clear this situation has been going on for several years, if not longer, and every year the problem gets worse, more days exceeding the demand. So what needs to happen? Short term, we need a new water supply contract with the City of Rockwall, and if they could increase our daily allotment, that would help, but only short term. Longer term, RCH needs to pursue a direct take from the North Texas Municipal Water District and increase ground and elevated storage capacity, and both of those things take years. But both those solutions are going to be tough, since the relationship between the City of Rockwall and RCH is broken. How can you expect to negotiate with a party when you throw them under the bus like RCH did to Rockwall at the last board meeting? And to get a take from North Texas requires a unanimous vote of the other existing members, and that includes the City of Rockwall. That relationship is broken. The customer relationship is also broken. For example, apart from the pressure and water supply issues, RCH has repeatedly and unlawfully asked new property owners to satisfy unpaid bills of prior property owners, to the point where this city has actually posted a notice about that being illegal on the city's website. There is no trust. We want to know what's being done with our money. Are they setting aside a reserve account? Do we have the money for the needed improvements? Without transparency, we have no way of knowing. The change we need requires a change in management of RCH to restore its credibility and move forward to increase our water supply. The current management got us here and is at best indifferent and perhaps even hostile to being called to account for its actions and its inactions. We deserve better. So how does RCH management change? We have a couple of options. First, we can engage our local elected officials to work with the agencies and get regulations enforced. And I'm working with Senator Hall's office right now, and I'm waiting a reply from Representative Holland. I'm moving forward to engage the regulators, and I don't plan to stop until we have a better solution. Or, and this is the better solution, the RCH board could act to install new management who would be willing to address the water storage issues, the water supply issues, the financial issues, the transparency issues, and the customer service issues. So to the RCH board, I have this to say. We are aware you're volunteers and that the law doesn't even allow you to be compensated. We appreciate the fact that you started out as a small rural water supply company, but now find yourselves with much bigger problems than you may have ever anticipated or may feel capable of handling. We ask that if the current board feels overwhelmed with the demands of the position, to please allow new leadership. As board members, you are the ones who can hold RCH employees and contractors accountable for their actions and inactions. You have the power to fire those who have let down your customers and find someone to take their place. We also ask that you stop issuing will serve letters unless and until new storage and water supply is brought online. This may take years, but it is a complete disservice to your existing customers to add more connections when we're having problems, not just in the summer, but year-round. To the City Council, while the city can't speak for RCH customers and doesn't control what RCH does, your help is still useful. I ask you to keep us informed and involve us so we can share information. I think you're doing that. Consider creating a task force to include interested citizens with management, accounting, or regulatory backgrounds to help study the problem and the solution. As a citizen, I'd like to know also the number of outstanding building permits that aren't already using water. How many more people are going to be added before we see a solution? And as a citizen, I beg you to consider not issuing additional permits until you know more water supply is online. And I'm wrapping up here. To the developers, if RCH stops issuing will serve letters and the city temporarily stops issuing building permits, I beg your patience as we work towards a solution. Big developer suing small rural town and water company is not a good look on you. You have every right to expect the city and RCH to be working together toward a solution and should expect regular updates on what's being done to fix the problems. But I also want to remind you of the influence you as developers have in Rockwall County and North Texas, including with other entities who get water direct from North Texas. I ask that you please lend us your influence to help us towards a solution. We need all hands on decks for creative solutions to this water supply issue. And to my fellow RCH customers, finally, please stay engaged. This is not over until we have a new manager at RCH and RCH constructs new water storage and supply infrastructure. It's going to take time. Please help me hold RCH accountable for regular updates on progress towards these goals. Collectively, we all need to play a part in the solution. That's RCH board, RCH management, RCH customers, regulatory agencies, developers, and the city. This problem is fixable, and it's just going to take some dedicated time and attention to get the job done. Right now, it is getting my time and attention, and I don't plan to stop. And I hope others will join me in working towards a solution. Thank you.
Dennis, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Dennis London. I live at 216 Harvest Ridge Drive in McLendon-Chisholm. And while we're talking about RCH's system capacity, let's address another elephant in the room, density. During the recent comprehensive plan revision, it was famously asked, what's the big difference between an acre and an acre and a half? Half an acre, right? Well, actually, in density, that's wrong. Our current water supply situation has shed a new light on the topic of density. For my family of two on 1.5 acres with a pool, our bills show we normally use just under 4,000 gallons, except in the peak summer months when we might use upwards to 20,000. Now, RCH, under their drought plan, would ration us to 6,000 gallons a month. So let's say we use that much during 8 months of the year, and the other 4 months of the year we use 20,000. It'll make for easy math. 80,000 plus 48,000 is 128,000. So that's 128,000 gallons per year for my single-family home on 1.5 acres with an irrigated yard and a pool. Now multiply that by 10, and now you have 10 homes on 15 acres. With usage like ours, you'd be looking at 1.28 million gallons per year. But with our newly approved comprehensive plan, you could put 15 homes on that same 15 acres. Now let's say they use the same amount of water in the off months, but less in the summer. We'll round it down to 16,000. So 16,000 times 4 plus the 6,000 gallons times 8 gets you to 112,000 gallons per year. Multiply that times the 15 homes equals 1.68 million gallons. So in case I lost any one of the numbers, I'll recap. One house on 1.5 acres is 128,000 gallons. 10 homes on 15 acres would be 1.28 million gallons. 15 homes on those same 15 acres would be 1.68 million gallons. So for those 15 acres, we're talking of a difference of nearly 500,000 gallons of water a year. But wait, there's more. Special variances are often given which reduce the minimum lot size even more. According to the planners, developers, and engineers who've all stated we needed to have smaller lots in order to make it affordable for people to move here, they'd want to put 30 homes on those same 15 acres. So let's assume no outdoor watering, no pools, and a family of 4 would get 7,000 gallons a month under the water rationing conditions. 7,000 times 12 is 84,000. Times 30 homes, that's 2.52 million gallons, and these are conservative numbers. So depending on the number of homes for the same 15 acres, RCH would have to supply 1.28 million for 10, 1.68 million for 15, or 2.5 million for 30. Now, I've heard it said a few times that it's the large lots which are responsible for the problem. And you know what? In the summer months, I'd agree, large lots with pools do use more water. The physical size of our city hasn't grown. We haven't extended our boundaries. Our rural city didn't have these water issues until the urbanization began. Think about this. If you were to put just 4 homes on my little 1.5 acre lot, then we would be using conservatively approximately 21,000 gallons each and every month of the year, not just in the summertime. That's the difference that density makes. Do we want to live like this all year long? I don't. Am I against denser development in principle? Yes, I've been known to speak out against it. But the comprehensive plan was one of the reasons I moved here. And the reality is the city already has denser developments with more in the works. And as long as the infrastructure can support it, and I'm talking water and roads to handle traffic and everything else, go ahead, develop away. I'm all in support of it. But until then, we need to think as a city and as RCH customers, if we can afford to be adding more connections to the same amount of water that we've been receiving from Rockwall since 2009. Our allotted amount has stayed the same while our connections have more than doubled. RCH's own records show for the past several years we've used more than our contracted amount during peak summer months. And we simply can't afford to be adding new connections into this equation. It's not the city's fault that RCH failed in their duty to keep up with the demand. That's on RCH. But as a city council, I'd hope you do everything legally within your power to call a moratorium on issuing additional building permits, regardless of the will serve letters that you may get from RCH. Because we now know, you, me, RCH, and all the citizens, they simply do not have the capacity to serve any more customers until more supply is brought online. RCH even admitted that it would take at least 18 months for those updates or upgrades to begin or even be somewhat done. And by the way, this isn't just an issue during the summer months. High Point Lake area residents will tell you these problems with pressure are year-round. As a citizen, I urge the City Council to be part of the solution, and for the short term, you can help by not issuing additional permits until adequate supplies are brought online, as well as doing whatever you can in your sphere of influence for a management change at RCH. Thank you.
Mr. Day, you're up. Huh? Sure. Adrian?
Adrian Balcom, 1518 Forenza Court. Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I want to acknowledge and say that it was really good to see many City Council members and, of course, our mayor present at past public meetings. It means a lot, and I believe it makes a difference. Thank you for being a good steward by inviting RCH board directors to come present updates. In our adopted 2021 comprehensive plan, it acknowledges that our utility services are key to our city's success. Staying on top of our utilities is crucial. I believe those services could keep us on the offense of the city and our city council when developers approach us. I would rather not have to see us experience a time to mitigate a crisis, especially when it comes to water. The time is now to express from your dais to RCH that being a key partner to our community is to improve their service that they have provided thus far. In addition to that, I would hope that you would express the importance of basic board governance, transparency with their customers, with the city, and to give our community peace of mind that the board is making a concerted effort, such as address the complaints that they stated would be rectified at their August 3rd, 2022 board meeting. Number one, election. We would like an itemized agenda. In fact, on my blog, I drafted a sample of a fill-in-the-blank agenda that is itemized and a script on how to conduct that meeting to call for an election and appoint new board members. That would be the fastest remedy to alleviate some administrative problems that seem to get progressively worse. Number two, transparency. Maintain their website with their bylaws, agendas, minutes, current projects, financial reports, etc. Also, to remedy the issue with opening the doors during business hours for customers to not only speak with customer service, but also to be able to inspect RCH-related documents. Number three, communication. The text email system is a good tool. However, it is not consistent with information, or that is only for critical emergencies to send out only when it reaches a critical stage. Utilizing this service, RCH will be able to improve or help with conservation efforts, as well as to help customers, members, be informed. If these actions are taken, it sure would give peace of mind to our local partners and water service customers that things are changing genuinely. I encourage you to ask questions and to take the time to address your community concerns, our community concerns. Water is needed not only for our livelihood, some need it for their business operations, and certainly our fire department needs it. We must work together to resolve these issues. No one has to get ugly. We just need to be better in our acts of service and do better in being accountable to one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Ogun. Paul, you're up.
Thank you for making that adjustment. It allows me to abbreviate my comments so we get out there. Mayor Short, thank you very much. Many of RCH's explanations for poor communication, poor service, and poor management, just like their water towers, it just doesn't hold much water, okay? They have blamed drought conditions, despite the fact that we have full reservoirs. In fact, I went out and measured the reservoirs when the drought conditions went on. They had not moved an inch, not 1 inch. So it wasn't a supply problem. There was something else in the ointment that we have to deal with. They blame heavy water users, but we've always had those. There's nothing new under the sun there. They blame the City of Rockwall, which was providing them with 3 million gallons a day, if I can recall at one point. And Rockwall finally said, hey, you can't do that anymore. We're about to get throttled on our end. We can't give you what we don't have, because Rockwall didn't have the supply. I'll get into what that issue here is in a moment. They blame folks who went out and watered their yard. They use these excuses to throttle our water and to issue boil notices. Of course, this left emergency services with no water. It left people scrambling for ways to get clean and to make sure that we were sanitary. If you don't maintain sufficient water pressure on the pipes, you get water seepage instead of out of the pipes and into the groundwater. The groundwater will seep into your pipes, and it'll make people sick, especially in a town full of septic tanks. This left emergency services with no water. And by the way, our emergency services can't even measure the water pressure from the brand new firehouse that they have. They don't have any emergency water supply. So if there's an issue, they can't even go and put water into one of the trucks to go put out a fire if there's a problem. So those are issues that the city can start to address and start to look at, emergency water reserves. The truth is that RCH has failed to secure adequate water supply for this community. And it still has not shown that they are pursuing any real remedies. So what are some of the remedies that they had available to them that they chose not to pursue? Their contract with the City of Rockwall, who was their provider of water, allowed them annually to go up to the City of Rockwall and request 6% increases every single year for 60 years. In 60 years, they have never made such a request, including when the first boil notices started hitting the media in 2015, 2 years before I moved into this community. I pulled up those newspaper articles. As far as I can tell, they still aren't doing this. The application date is September 1st. So it looks like we've got 2.1 million on the docket again for next year because they refused to come to our city engineer and to make those accommodations. That's in the contract. That's something that's agreed upon. We just have to justify the need, and then they can go to their supplier at North Texas, who will then give them the 6%. But we haven't done it. Had we started doing this in 2015, we'd have the 3 million gallons that we need. We've done the math. But they haven't. And they continue to not do anything. The deadline is September 1st, as I said. The city needs to prepare itself to take action, in my judgment, that protects its citizens from RCH's continued misconduct. I've never seen an organization that provides a utility act in this way in my life. Their customer service is abysmal. They have an executive director over there that is one of the most, I'm just gonna say it, she's diabolical. She's really, really horrible to some of the people that have issues with water in this city. So people are afraid to actually bring their issues to their front or to their desk. Whether it's a water bill problem, and you guys know this, it's common knowledge who this person is. Okay. On another item, so I want to move on. How much time do I have now?
About a minute.
Thank you,
Just
sir.
a tad over a minute.
So for public safety, I wanted to bring up something regarding the new fireworks ordinance that is being proposed. I think, and I know it's coming from a good place. But one of the things I want to advocate for before we start looking and delving into carving up and putting in stone new ordinances that might put bans on behavior in the city, I think maybe a fire education system might be a way to go, to let people know what their responsibilities as citizens. If you're going to have fireworks, you're going to do things that might put other people at risk. Let them know. Set up volunteer fire brigades, right? Make sure there's a fire, not a fire hydrant, but a fire extinguisher near the people that are there, and see if education works first before we put outright bans on behavior. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Paul. All right, we don't have any more. All right, time is 6:56. Citizens' comments will be closed for the evening. All right. Pause that. I don't have any with me tonight. All right. Hold on just a minute. Somebody's getting a cough drop. We'll be good to go. All right, Jackie, now is for you and Mr. Hodges to be able to come up and talk.
First of all, I want to thank the city council, Mayor Short, city council, and city manager Hildebrandt for asking me to be here tonight. Appreciate y'all's concern. And city manager had sent me several questions to be answered, and at this time, I'm going to answer those questions for you. And if the public has any other questions or anything, I would like for them to email the city manager, and he can email them to me, and we will answer them, if that's okay with you. First question was how long the outdoor watering ban will be in place. I wished I could answer that. I thought we was going to get some rain today. Maybe it's just priming the pump, getting ready to start raining. But the ban will be in effect until there's a change in the weather that brings the usage of the system down. And everyone's concerned about why we ran out of water on the 13th of July. We didn't run out of water. We still had water in our storage facilities, but it was getting low, and the City of Rockwall gave us a short leash in order to telling us that they were going to cut us back to our contract of 2.1 million gallons a day. So that's why we had to shut the water off and fill our capacity, get our tanks back at the capacity. And is there an issue of running out of water in the future? We're not going to run out of water. We'll probably, hopefully we don't have to shut it down anymore. Hopefully we can get some rain and the city will keep pumping us out to 2.1 million gallons that's in our contract each day. I know that on July the 13th or July the 12th, the City of Rockwall almost ran out of water, and they were shuffling their feet trying to get what they could do to keep from running out of water up there. And you don't want to run your tanks empty. Okay, as most of y'all, a lot of y'all were at our meeting at RCH the last Wednesday, and some of this will be repetitious that I'm saying that we said up there, but we are in the process of going directly to North Texas Municipal Water District to buy our water. We have got the okay from the City of Rockwall. Their attorney is working on the legal part of it right now, and hopefully we will get that resolved just in the next few days or next week, hopefully. I know that our engineer has recontacted her, and she said that she would expedite it. And what we're planning on doing is we're going to build a new storage facility on the corner of Edwards and League Road, and we're going to hook into a 42-inch line down in Kaufman County, down at Terrell, to bring us a larger supply of water to RCH. And what can the City of McLendon do to to help us alleviate the situation that we're in now, and y'all have done a real good job on this, is promoting water conservation during this droughty season. And I get a lot of articles from different places about how concerned and how bad this drought is. I was down at Gatesville this past weekend, and it was terrible down there, just terrible. And city manager asked me something about should the city continue issuing swimming pool permits. You know, that's something up to the city council and the city to decide whether they want to continue issuing swimming pool permits or not. But we don't have anything prohibiting this. And should the city issue new home permits, that's a city decision and everything. It's those individual home is not like a subdivision that you're going to plan for. Okay, and then another question was about the usage in the city and in the ETJ. Our system doesn't let us break out the ETJ versus the city on our system. But I will check and see if there's a possible way that we could do that. I do not know about that, but I will check on that. And then the daily reports on water usage, the amount that we get from the City of Rockwall is tabulated at the end of each month. But we know how much we push out each day. It's metered there. We know how much we push out. We pushed out 1.925 million gallons yesterday. But for the total usage, we just get that from North Texas, from City of Rockwall just one time a month. And then about the monthly water reports, I'm checking into about getting that put on our website. And then the map of the water system, Homeland Security has a little bit to say about that. But I will be glad to get y'all a report of what lines go down, like say 548, 550, 205. I will get y'all the size of those lines that go down those individual roads. And let's see, the storage capacity we have right now is 1.5 million gallons. And then another question was here, does the city have current water supply and storage capacity presently to prepare for the build out in McLendon-Chisholm? Well, no, we don't have that. And that's why we're going to North Texas to directly from them to enlarge our capacity on storage, and hopefully we can be on North Texas within 2 years. And I think this was addressed up at the meeting at RCH office. And is McLendon-Chisholm invited to the RCH board meetings? Anyone, it's an open meeting, anyone can come that wants to come. You're welcome to come. And another issue was addressed about board members. We're looking into, and we are going to either add 2 more board members or 3 more board members to be elected in January. Any plans for better communication into the future? Well, just like I said a while ago, we're going to add more stuff to our website. And I hope everyone has subscribed to our website, because you'll get water alerts and everything like that on your mobile phone. And it said, "Is RCH and the City of Rockwall contract to provide water to the City of McLendon-Chisholm to build out?" Well, that's why we are going to North Texas Municipal Water District in order to have the supply of water whenever McLendon-Chisholm does build out. And something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what it was right now. But another question was better ways for the City of McLendon-Chisholm for RCH to assist RCH in assisting residents in the McLendon-Chisholm about the situation that we're in. And just like I say, the city council, city manager, the mayor, y'all have all done a real good job in promoting conservation. And other thing I can say is we just need to pray for a rain. And that's all I have. And like I said, any other questions that you have, if you would just email them to the city manager, we'll get them answered and back to him. And appreciate all that the fire department does here. We're blessed to have y'all.
Well, Jackie, I've got a couple of questions for you while you're here.
Okay.
First off, I was not able to come to your board meeting that you had the other day, but I was able to watch the board meeting. There are some questions I have after watching that. One of the ones that I want to ask you is, you know, you're the president or the head of the board, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you commit to 2 biannual meetings with us concerning updates on projects and all that, so we know where the city stands as far as water and everything else?
I didn't hear all of it.
Can you commit to 2 biannual meetings on projects, updates where the water supply company is with the city? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I've got a couple of them. I had to write them down. And I will make sure he gets that sent to you. The other one is going to be about, can you take the time to submit us a copy of your annual certified audit to our city administrator? Okay. And then you said you're looking at possibly adding 3 board members?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'll tell you, looking at the website, it has an application on there if you want to apply to be a board member, but it says you have to abide by the bylaws. Nobody can find the bylaws. How can you abide by something when you're not being provided that copy? Because here's where I'm getting frustrated. I know you personally. I don't have an issue with you, but what I'm seeing with RCH, and one of the gentlemen that spoke earlier, is a common denominator here. It's an individual that works for you guys, that runs everything, that is being very deceitful with the public. She will not provide information. She locks doors. I looked at the website. That website is not the same website 4 years ago. It is completely scrubbed clean. Because I know you, and I know who Mr. Hodges is, and I know who Mr. Hatfield is, I know you're on the board. But it's because I know who you are. Most of the public don't know you guys from anybody else. Names used to be on there. She has scrubbed that website clean to where nobody can function, and that's not acceptable. I don't believe that's what you did when you started your own business. I don't think that's how you operate businesses, but she's being allowed to do that, and that's unsatisfactory. I owe it to 4,200 residents of the city to come up with answers to stuff like that, and every time I peel back a layer to find an answer for them, I get more questions than I get answers. You know, and she's not forthcoming. I know people have asked, the city's asked for information, and she will not provide it to us. I don't want to get to the point, but if I have to get legal counsel involved, or I have to get state agencies involved to force you guys, I'm going to be stuck doing it. That's not how I want to do things. I think we need to be good neighbors.
That's not the way I feel.
I'll be honest with you, Jackie, if it were me personally, and I have to think of 4,200 people, but if it were me personally, I demand that she be terminated. Because I know that's not the only water company that she is over. And that concerns me, that you've got multiple companies utilizing the same address. You know, where's the loyalty? You know, you've served on council here. You know, we answer to the people, and, you know, unfortunately, the city is not in the water business. You as RCH is in the water business to our customers, which are the citizens. And, you know, I feel like we're doing a poor job. We're doing a poor job of representing to the citizens the way the water company is being managed. I don't expect you in there day in and day out, but you get somebody in there that's they're not being fair to them. Before I became mayor, I had to deal with it. You know what? I didn't have very nice things to say about that stuff because she was totally rude to me. And all I was doing was trying to figure out how to pay my bills. And that's not acceptable, and I don't think anybody that lives here wants to deal with it. Yeah. She's the one that's giving you a bad name.
Such a rough time with people is because she is the face, and she's the first person that they talk to, and when it's a sour taste in your mouth, it's a sour taste in your mouth.
I know. I have. Oh, okay. I have.
So it's just.
It's going to be a drug.
Okay. Well,
And I have.
You know what needs to be done.
Yes.
Because you've heard.
I know.
You have heard, and
yes,
that's
ma'am.
and
I know
that's
exactly.
and then
I
that's
need to do it.
and I
Sure.
guarantee you, if you fix that problem,
That's fine, Wayne.
it will
Come on
be
up.
10 times better.
I
10
know.
times better.
I know.
And I don't mean to pick on y'all,
No, I know that.
but
I
I've
know
got to
that,
I've
but-
got to
but-
ask the
but,
question. We are going to address this situation.
This is going to
And
be
the
addressed.
reason I'm saying, Mr. Hodges, is because we have complained about her multiple times. I mean, I've got two different customers of y'all's. One lives in Sonoma Verde, one doesn't. One of them in March, $35 water bill. April, $35 water bill. Give or take a little bit. May, $800 water bill. June, over $5,000 water bill. The man went out and read the meter. Read the meter 5 days after the meter was read, and it's still in error by $76,000 as far as the number. I don't think you have people adequately doing their job. I have another one that lives in the area that's an RCH customer, that the numbers are wrong, and they were charged.
That is another issue that we're going to address. We're going to go to and I don't know all about it, but it's a satellite reading where you.
Some sort of electronic.
Yes,
Right.
that's what we're going to go to.
Because I'm going to
And
tell
I
you.
know I say we're going to go to it, but that's what we're going to do.
But here's the thing, one of those two customers, when they went, I told them, go read your meter and see what the numbers say on it, see how it correlates to what your paper bill is. They went out there and the meter was so full of mud, they had to move the mud to see the meter. So somebody didn't read it, they just came up with a number,
So,
and that's not acceptable.
no. If I want y'all to give all this to the city manager.
I mean, I've got a slew of stuff that you're gonna get inundated with questions, because, you know, I had a meeting with the City of Rockwall about their water to you, which I understand, then the water numbers you have that say that go to the customer. For the 26 days that I got those numbers in July, you're missing 1.6 million gallons worth of water. And I can't equate where it went to. From what Rockwall gave you to what you say you gave us as customers, you're missing 1.6 million gallons of water.
Jackie, your numbers are messed up.
They're wrong.
You've
They're
got
wrong.
to
They're absolutely out of whack.
You've got to find a solution. Seriously. Find that solution and
Yeah.
your troubles will be over.
Yes, sir. And I mean, it's, when you say you get 1.5 million gallons storage. I
Yes.
believe you, and I figured that's about what it was. But you have the numbers that Rockwall produces and the numbers you produce. In 26 days, you lost 1.6 million gallons of water, and nobody knows where it's at. That's, you know, that's with you showing a lot of days where you took in more water from Rockwall than you pushed out to the customer. There's 1.6 million gallons uncounted
Over 30 days,
over 26 days.
26 days.
Not a full month, 26
Okay.
days.
Okay.
You know, but there are things that just aren't adding up. And you know, it's just like I said, with that particular individual not providing information, do we have the correct number of licensed technicians working for the company? Because the state does have certain rules. If you've got 2,500 customers, you should have 5 water technicians on staff. I can't find out who's on staff because there's no information about who the employees are, let alone who the board of directors is. But if I go to a sister website that individual manages for another water supply company, I can see who the board of directors is. I can see what the board minutes are. Can't always see all the employees, but you know, when you start seeing that where there's information that should be there that's not there, you know how the rumor mill starts flying. Now we got conspiracy theories. What do you hide?
It just,
What is going on that we're not providing that information to the public? 'Cause that should be public information. You know, and there are certain rules and regulations that have to be followed. If you're a nonprofit company or if you're an investor-owned or investor-ran company, there are certain bylaws, certain guidelines that you have to follow that aren't being followed. And like Trudy said, the face of your company is making each and every one of you guys that have been around here for a long time and built a good name for yourselves, making y'all look bad. Making y'all look like a bunch of crooks.
and the thing is people know you guys, they know you guys, and we love you guys. I mean, there's so many people that would go to the front lines for y'all. But when you add that sour apple, it's, people just wanna back up. And I'm sorry, I really am sorry that I have to say that, but, I mean, I'm trying really hard for you guys to understand that,
Right.
okay?
We're gonna do this.
Well, it's your names, so it's all on you guys.
I mean, guys, and you know, I have a lot of respect for you. You're only as good as you were.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I still believe that to this day. I was taught that by my great-grandfather. You got somebody tarnishing y'all's work. And it's gotta stop, and it's gotta stop today. You know, and the public wants answers. They may not like the answer when they get it, but they do want the answer. And you know, it's time to explain that to them, because we have signed agreements where you've agreed as RCH to provide the water for the next additional phases of Sonoma Verde. I can't tell that builder he can stop building. You already told him he would have to walk. Now you want me to be the bad guy? That's not my role. I shouldn't be the bad guy.
That's why we're building the storage over there.
I understand that,
We
but
get that permit, we're ready to go.
But
your
you've got-
engineer was not very forthcoming in your meeting about information. You know, he laid it off that it was us that's holding things up. There are processes in place, even with you guys,
That's right.
where
And with the City of
engineers have to
Rockwall,
look
as
at
well
it.
as-
Right, but things have to be looked at, permits have to be
Exactly.
issued, plans have to be approved.
We know y'all have your street has to be done.
And
Yes, sir.
as soon as we got it and as soon as they could get to it, it was looked at. But he made it sound like we're the ones dragging our heels. We're not dragging our heels.
We're ready to go.
And it infuriated me because y'all laid a line all the way down 205, your expansion of
Yeah.
your line. Nobody ever told the city you were laying that line. I mean, I could sit here and go right now. Your own city, your own engineer said that there are permit processes that they had to follow with the city. Nobody ever once came to the city and got a permit to lay that new water line.
And that water line might not be in the right spot.
And that water line is sitting on top of the brand new sewer line that I put in, or our city put in.
We addressed that with, the lady,
That's Lisa, yeah.
Did you get a permit?
But nobody got permits. Well, we can go back and address that, but, you know, he's sitting there laying it off that we're the ones holding up process. We're not holding up process. If things have been submitted to our engineer and he's dragging his heels, I'll address that, but we are where we can do our
is
our
all
part
of
of
the
it is where we're at.
landscaping and fencing and all that, has that been approved?
Yes, I'm hearing it has.
Okay, okay, send me that too.
Okay.
You guys
But
are
I don't appreciate him throwing us under the bus. We're doing our part, and we're doing our part as quickly as we can, and that was not fair to do that to us.
And you
you
guys
know.
know that it's gonna take 2 years to get that tower in? If you guys can't, you know, like, no? When, a year.
About a year on.
Okay, I was gonna say, it's gonna be over 2 years. if
The
y'all don't
2
get it.
years is where, if they're going in North Texas, to get the lines and all that,
Yeah.
can take up to 2 years.
We'll get on to that.
Gotcha.
Line right.
Okay. Well, figure out the internal issue y'all have, and, cause that's your biggest sore.
Well, guys, and I hate to put you on the spot, but it's not acceptable the way you guys are left sitting in here answering me and answering this council when there's one common denominator of all the problems, and had that person been forthcoming with information when asked, might not be in this position. You know, and I mean that's the bottom line is that's got to stop. You know, and better communication. And ongoing communication. You know,
Cause you guys
I
have
mean,
worked hard for your names,
yeah.
you know? You've worked very hard for your name.
Now, I do have one last question because of my day job, I get up at 3 o'clock every morning. Why are we having low water pressure at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning? We got to do something because I can tell you, I'm getting beat up in Sonoma Verde because most people are not watering their lawn. I've got a fence that's starting to lean in the back because of the cracks in the ground. And I go to take a shower, I can tell the water pressure.
I can't do it, so.
Well, we'll get over this hump, but until then,
You don't
you
have
guys,
You don't have to ride out there and look, see who you want to move, drive through.
Oh, I know. I've
y'all-
seen some that the sidewalk is watered better than the grass.
Yeah.
I get it, but that was a question of mine because I've noticed the last week that when I get up, shower before I go to work, that the water pressure is a little low.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna beat you up anymore tonight. I have a list of more things that I want him to ask, so I will send them.
Okay, do that.
thank
sir.
you for being here.
You ain't doing on me.
Yes, Chief has a question for you.
Yes.
Yes, sir. My pleasure. Yeah, turn that one off. I don't want to hear that screeching battery thing. All right. Normally I wouldn't say this at the end of a presentation like that, but those of you that are sitting here in the audience, understand we can ask a lot of questions and we can demand a lot of things of them, but understand they are a private company. Whether you consider them a nonprofit or an investor-owned company, they are a private entity. The city only has limited things that they can do. Because of that, we as citizens, and it includes us, we're all RCH customers. The city is not in the water business at this point in time. Would I love us to be? Absolutely. I would love us to be in the water and sewer business because it'd make it so much easier. I've felt the pain and the complaints everybody else has. I got a water bill here, I got a sewer bill here, I got a, I get the same complaints at home that you guys feel. We are working on it. Like I said, up here, every time I peel back a layer of information, I get more questions than I get answers. But we're still peeling that back. And there are things that are in motion, looking into those various things. I'm just not prepared to share all that information tonight. But there are things that we are working on to get those answers and to do what we can to make sure this isn't an ongoing problem going forward. How quickly we can get that done, I don't have the crystal ball to answer for you. Okay? It's like my law enforcement side. People have us show up and well, why can't you solve it right now? I watch TV and they dust this and then they take this black light over here. That's a TV show. They solve all crimes in an hour. In reality, sometimes it takes days, months, years. And some of that technology only happens in a big city like Dallas or LA. Most other agencies don't have access to that kind of equipment and technology. Guys, we're a small town. We're doing everything we can. We're looking at the resources available at the state level as well as other resources to peel back all these layers and get more information and try and rectify the problem. Please be patient with us. We are working. We haven't given up. We haven't let it go to the wayside. We'll work on it as much as we can, as quickly as we can. And sometimes we're held hostage to time constraints because we're depending on somebody else to get some of that information, whether it's a state agency, whether it's another individual working on a piece of it. And guys, how many of you have tried to call your credit card company or the phone company or something else? In this day and age, everybody hides behind COVID, or you can't ever get a live body. You gotta go through a computer for 5 hours and then maybe it'll let you zero out to a live body. We're working on things. Just please have faith. That's all I'm gonna ask you to do. All right, that's all I have to say on the water thing. Like Mr. Pullen said, I will say the same thing. As citizens and customers, any questions you have, please forward them to my city administrator. You can even forward them to me as the mayor. My email address is real easy for me. It's mayor@McLendon-Chisholm.com. Forward us those questions, and we will get those questions forward to them. And we will follow up in a timely manner of, hey, where's the answers to the question? We will give them a little bit of time, but I'm not going to take forever and 2 months from now go, oh yeah, hey, where's the answer? We're going to hold their feet to the fire. Okay, move on to approval of the minutes. 6.1, consider approval of minutes for the July 26th, 2022 City Council meeting. Is that the one that there was a change in the thing? I'll entertain a motion with whatever changes that you found that needed to be done.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 26, 2022 with the amended change of, in paragraph 4.1 from Mr. Curtis Parker to Mr. Tony Crawford.
Okay. I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that one passed. Now we'll move on to 7.1. Consider an interlocal agreement between the County of Rockwall, Texas and the City of McLendon-Chisholm, Texas for fire protection services Chief, I'll turn it over to you. Is that the one where we're redoing that with the new? Okay,
You need to get a microphone.
yeah. No,
It doesn't go to the,
he can go talk at the other one.
All right, so this is the time of year where we have the contract interlocal agreement for the unincorporated between the city and the county. This year, we were able to have some discussions, and thanks to several council members that have had open discussions with commissioners to start looking at how they figure up the funding for the unincorporated area. By them doing that, it allowed all the chiefs to get together with the county and start looking at districts and areas that we cover, and then have them come up with a new solution or new problem, a new way to be able to figure it out. With that being said, they did come up with 3 main categories on how they grade and how they come up with the funding. One of them is call volume, the second one is rooftops, and the third one is district, landmass. So those are the 3 topics that they use, and they come up with this nice little formula to figure out how they're gonna break up the currently $375,000 worth of funds that they give to the 5 departments inside the unincorporated area. So with those changes this year, last year we were at $77,500, and this year they increased the funding for McLendon-Chisholm to, wait for it, $127,813. So right around a little over $50,000 increase from what we had prior to. So what you have before you is the new interlocal agreement showing those funds. Recommend passing and or signing and agreeing to this agreement. Any questions? Easy enough. I like that. Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the interlocal agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to sign the interlocal agreement between the County of Rockwall, Texas, and the City of McLendon-Chisholm, Texas, for fire protection services.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. If there's not any discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to 7.2. This is gonna be the fireworks ordinance. Before Chief starts speaking, I looked at the draft tonight. Because we are minus 2 city council members, I would ask that council consider, after we listen to what Chief has to say, table this to the next meeting when we have all council members present. But I'm gonna tell you before Chief explains things on this, I'm not a fan of this ordinance at the way it is written. I am a fan of having an ordinance, but I'm not a fan of the way this one's written. And the reason I say that is, I don't think it's fair to take it completely away. I am one that doesn't agree with people popping fireworks for 2 weeks straight. I got very flustered this year, but I kept my mouth shut when behind my house it sounded like I was in a war zone. I personally, it's my wife's dog. My dog's just too dumb to know the difference. My wife's dog gets high anxiety with a lot of noise like that. My black lab just don't care. But good stuff. But it gets nerve-wracking when the windows are rattling every night for 2 weeks. I think we're better served with an ordinance that maybe allows something to the degree of, and I don't know the right wording, that's what I looked at Mr. Holler for, is the day of the celebrated holiday, maybe 2 days prior, 1 day after, or if that holiday falls during the week, maybe whatever the appropriate weekend is that is normally celebrated for that.
So if I may, that's the whole purpose. I was asked to put together an ordinance to bring something before council, so which we have done. This is a unique community. We've got lots of open space. We've got big properties. We only have 1 high-density subdivision inside this community. I don't think we need a blanket, no fireworks ban throughout the city limits. I've worked in other cities, and there was a reason for it, why we implemented them, because of multiple high-density subdivisions. And nobody wants to see 6-inch mortars coming out of the backyard of a home in Sonoma Verde. It happens. It happens every time we finish the fireworks show that they put on. They do a great show. Next thing you know, we watch individuals do it out of their backyards. You know, but was asked to bring this beforehand just for council to start talking, if council's even looking at wanting to do this. I wasn't, what you have before you is a very standard, generic ordinance that fits just about any city around us. Matter of fact, it comes from other cities. I didn't reinvent the wheel, because this is what they have in play, but I don't think it fits what we need to do here, if we even need to do it. You know, the problem is we can put into play, but it doesn't change anything. HOA, Sonoma Verde has an HOA rule that says don't pop fireworks, we're gonna fine you $100, $200, whatever it may be. 500, yeah. All right. Okay, great. So they scared some people this year. Well, it pushed them to Wallace Road. So we ran about 8 calls in a matter of an hour or two's time because individuals moved out of Sonoma Verde to save $500, went out there off of Wallace Road and started popping fireworks and burned up property owners' property. A couple of them were hay meadows. That's money in their back pocket when those things get burned up. So we deal with complaints every year, and we just kind of keep moving forward. We explained to him, Mr. Gray, I like his idea. I do put out a safety briefing or brief to Sonoma Verde HOA, to Jamie, each year, different holidays. Maybe that's something we push even harder throughout the whole city, is to do more of the education. Because we can put an ordinance in play, but we can't fix stupid. And I'm not trying to be ugly, but we can't fix where people just don't have the common sense to realize that you don't go out there and start burning on fireworks when we're in a drought. So I apologize, I didn't mean to offend anybody, but that's the reality when it comes to doing so much stuff.
You know, you learned, hey, I need to get rid of that cherry bomb sooner. I still got 4 fingers left on this hand, so I learned my lesson. That was how I grew up.
So back to what I was saying a minute ago. Let it go. Don't hold on to it to say, watch what I do. But anyway, so this was just brought to council, and I agree we don't have all the council members here, but it's just to kind of get an idea. I've spoken to some of you individually, and I think we're all kind of on the same page, but it was just a chance to kind of start if council wishes to pursue this, to have discussions. I've heard anything that's less than 2.5 acres shouldn't be able to do it. I've heard 1.5 acres. I've heard high density subdivisions. So I've heard a lot, but it's kind of hard to write an ordinance that addresses all those needs. So
You guys look at it, sum it up with your thoughts, and get it back to Michael. Do you want it sent back to you, or Conrad, would you like it sent back to you? If they carve up what they think on this draft ordinance, do you want it to go to you first?
No, if they send it to me, that's great, and we'll put it
Okay.
together in a format and then let our city attorney get a good look-see.
Yeah.
And the thing, so the other thing too, we got to make sure that we address when we go to put something in play is the enforcement side of it. Right now, I'm a one-man show. I like to take off at the 4th of July. I trust my troops. I got great captains. I hang around for the 4th of July show or the fireworks show at Sonoma Verde because it's a big event. But enforcement too. Is, you know, I like to go to my land in Lampasas, Texas, and go out there and hang out. I can't pop fireworks because it's a burn ban. But I like to go and take that time to get away with my family. So the enforcement side of it as well, as we move forward, is we need to look at this too.
We will. We'll address it.
I spoke with some citizens earlier about some concerns, you know, people with PTSD, dogs, you name it.
Yeah.
Those are things that we've got to address and look at. Not everybody agrees with ordinance. I don't agree with having a lot of rules and ordinances in play, but sometimes we have to make decisions that's best for the community as a whole.
We also have that ability to, through the community outreach group, we can email them and ask the HOAs what they think.
More questions or any questions?
So are we in agreement to table it? I'll need a motion for that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table item number 7.2 till August 23rd.
I've got a motion to table to August 23rd. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. If there's no discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Now, let's move on to 7.3. Mark, I think that's you. I'm excited about this one because I kind of got a sneak preview. You weren't there, I got a sneak preview.
It looks good.
Is it on?
There you go,
Yes.
now it's on.
Evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Mark Woodard, Code Compliance Officer, and the reason for me being here this evening is to ask for your blessing and approval to initiate a new City-Wide and ETJ street sign project. We currently have sufficient funding in this year's budget to facilitate this program, and there are a total of 9 intersections we want to address with respect to these new street signs. This project will be a positive approach to McLendon-Chisholm, setting us apart from surrounding cities and enhance the overall image of our community. Street signs are the first thing that residents, guests, and prospective buyers see when entering the community. These high-quality street signs will help in the process of moving vehicular traffic from one location to another with ease of travel, which is a huge impact on driver safety. With respect to public safety, when it comes to emergency responders, police, fire, and EMT, responding to calls for service, seconds matter. So the ability to be able to identify street signs could literally be the difference between life and death. So if, Chief, if you would, I'd like to, yeah, I'd like to see. Oh, no, that. So those are the current street signs we have right now. And so what we want to do is implement these, or install these new street signs, which have the city logo on it, which are very classy, easy to identify. And I'm pretty sure that everybody in this community has been in unfamiliar territory where you're trying to find, you're using navigation, you're trying to find your way. You don't know if you're in the city limits or not. So the logo really turned out very nice, better than we expected, I'll be honest with you. So hats off to Bremar Industries for doing it. The blue and white
I've seen
signs are actually city limit signs. So if you see a blue and white sign with a logo, you know you're in the city limits. The green and white signs would signify ETJ. So, but those are really classy. They did a great job. That's it. I'll let the signs speak for themselves. They really look good. So. Yeah. So you have a code enforcement officer who's willing to install these signs. Not really in the scope of my employment, but we're a small municipality. We wear many hats, and I'll be glad to, and I'll be glad to install all these signs. All we need is your blessing and approval.
Do we need to get the county's approval to put up signs in the county?
Those are MUTCD approved, so those are textile approved.
No, I mean, since Chisholm Ranch Drive is in the county, it's not in the city. It's in the ETJ, so it's in the county. Doesn't matter ETJ or not, it's in the county. So for it to have City of McLendon-Chisholm, it's not in the City of McLendon-Chisholm. So.
It's in, yeah.
Just smile and hold the sign.
These are examples, like I say, that I want people to know, where the ETJ begins and where the city limits begin as well. So we can discuss that with the county. These are just model
I love the
signs.
city ones.
Keep
I'm
in
just
mind, these are
wondering about the county. It's just in the main
Just be
entrance.
at the edge, where Chisholm Ranch Drive meets Highway 2, State Highway 205. So if you're traveling in from Terrell, Texas, you'll know exactly when you reach the ETJ by the green and white sign.
I have no problem with all the ones in the city. You might want to check with the county to find the ones that are going to be.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we'll get the approval by the county.
Other than that, I'm good with it.
I'm good with the city.
And all future signs will require our developers to
And
put
it's
in.
just at the entrance, so like Kingsbridge, would Kingsbridge have one? Or where are you proposing the 9 signs?
Well, the 9 signs actually would be Pullen Road, East Pullen Road, where Pullen Road meets State Highway 205, West Pullen Road, where Pullen Road meets FM 550, South Smith Road, Chapel Hill, and West 550, Granite Ridge, and West 550, Cattle Barren, and West 550, Plus Drive and 205, League Road and 205, and Chisholm Ranch, where it meets 205. We can, I mean, we can put a regulatory sign, you know, city limits, I mean, yeah. The good thing about Bremer, they will make any sign we want. But unfortunately, some of the components we need for these signs, like the VS12 caps and things like that, we have to order from a different company.
I do think we need to check with TxDOT because we're putting a sign on 205, so you need to check that. And we
Right.
need to check with the county because the side of Pullen Road and 550 is actually county-owned. So we need to deconflict and make sure that it's okay with the county. And then we have to think about Glen Acres. I mean, that's, we've got Glen Acres, Austin Corners, Windsor.
Yeah.
This is a start. If we did every one in every neighborhood,
No, I'm
Yeah.
just talking about the entrance.
I know.
Just talking about the entrance.
I know,
There's so
but you
many
gotta start
different-
somewhere.
Glen Acres is
absolutely.
probably the one that we need the most.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is just initiate the project and hit a few. I mean, we could hit different, I mean, he has a list of streets. We could hit other streets if you prefer to go first. And like I say, we'll have our developers from now on pay for and put up the signs, be part of their process.
Beautiful, they're beautiful. Other cities have that, but the one that you designed is much prettier than Rockwall's Orchids.
Well, and my thoughts, and just another option, is you only do the city, and by just, I mean, that'll narrow down a few of the county ones, and you just do the city ones, and we'll know specifically that this is the city, the rest of it is in ETJ, whether it be Rockwall or McLendon-Chisholm or Heath or whoever, but then we can go out, like we get more money or whatever, then go out that way. Same thing for the city.
All right, I'll entertain a motion with the appropriate,
Well, we don't have the cost yet, so it's kind of hard to make a motion.
Councilmember Kibbe, Mayor, and the rest of the council, it's about $250 a sign for an intersection, not a sign, for 2 signs for an intersection, including the hardware it takes to install it. We were anticipating just doing a few signs with current year's budget, appropriated budget, and you may see a request for some of that in next year's budget to do more signs.
that's up to you. You wanna make a motion to table it, we can.
I mean, just, I would like to have which signs or what streets, how many, and the cost.
And then what we're gonna pay in this year's budget and what we're gonna
Yeah.
program for next year. I think it's a great initiative.
Yeah, I like it, it's just, we need more information.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table agenda item 7.3, waiting on further cost estimate and sign placement.
Okay, motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, if there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Table that one. What date did you? table?
Oh, I'm sorry.
23rd.
23rd, amend my motion to
Show that date.
show the date of August 10th.
All right, moving on to 7.4, discussion and possible action to approve a resolution declaring several apparatuses as surplus equipment to be sold. Where'd he go? No, he didn't. He's right there. Hey, you're up, big boy. It's on the surplus equipment.
All right, long time no see, Mayor and Council. So over the years, as we continue to assess fleet and move forward in the purchase of a new engine, last year, we have two apparatus right now that we are trying to go ahead and request for council to put out as surplus. It's a 2004 E1, and then the 2004 F350 was my command vehicle. Those two vehicles there were requested to go ahead and classify those as surplus so we can go ahead and start moving forward with auction, sales. We're looking at many options right now, but we can't do much until we get the approval from council.
All right, what do you think, guys? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution declaring several apparatus as surplus equipment to be sold.
Okay, I've got a motion, do I have a second? I'll second. Okay, now it's open for discussion. Chief, if this passes, the resolution passes, putting them as surplus and you put them up for auction or sell them, what are we doing with the money afterwards?
That's a great thing. It's up to the council to decide. I don't have any moment, place for the money to go. If you give me a week or two, I promise you I'll come up with a place to be able to use that money. You know, right now we don't have anything really allotted for those funds. It's going to come back to the city for the city to be able to place in the general project where they see fit. And just so council knows, I'll obviously work with Conrad, city administrator, and then the city attorney to make sure that we're doing everything we need to make sure that we follow the rules when it comes to sale or auction.
You know, with council's approval, I think whatever we retain as far as finances from the sale or the auction of it, will go back into the fund.
And that's, as we come here in the future, and I may get slapped, but one of the projects that we're looking at, and I've spoke with Conrad in regards to it, is looking at building our training center. We have some plans, we're looking at some ideas of possibly taking those funds and being able to build a training center out behind the station now that's going to allow us to do many things. Citizens Fire Academies, put council members and mayors through some fire training to kind of see what it's like. Convince one to go from blue to red, because it's a great thing. But also be able to allow other departments that would make MC kind of unique. We would be the only city in the county that has a training facility. There's not another one in the county. And with that said, it allows us to be able to charge fees and funds that would help self-fund that particular training center. So there's a quick example of something that we would probably be coming before you to find out. I wasn't prepared to talk about it tonight, but the door was open, so just to kind of give you an idea.
All right, well, I've got a motion. Did I get a second? Yeah. All right, if there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Before we go into 7.5, let's take a 5-minute recess. I'm sure people need to take a break for a minute. Yes. Oh, yeah, we can. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that one next. Folks, I'm gonna jump around. Once we get back from break, we're gonna go to 7.6. Get that done real quick. That is good. We get that at home. You buy it at Costco. Good popcorn. I love this. I just ate one. right. It's 8:01, we're gonna bring it back in. Food hay. It's 8:01, we're gonna start this thing back up. What? Oh, thank you. We're gonna jump over to 7.6, discussion and approval of final ordinance regarding food trucks. Michael, I only have one question on this, on the ordinance itself. He's gonna throw you under the bus. Here's my only question, and I know we had discussed this a while ago. I get the food truck part of it. There is an entity in a food truck park in another city that does beer and wine margaritas, something like that. But it looks like a food truck, but it's not a food truck. That's all they sell, and it's for off. Yes. Is that a separate? Is that gonna be separate from this? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. 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 Works for me. That makes a lot of sense. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance regulating food trucks.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second? A second. I've got a motion and a second. If there's not any further discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, okay. Well, wait. Yeah.
I just want to
If
know
they're issued a
who's,
permit by the city, then yeah.
okay, but what I'm asking is, like, in other words, if you drive by and you see somebody's pickup truck or whatever just pulled up somewhere, what are you gonna do? Do we call our ordinance department to go fix it, or like who's gonna be governing this? Okay, I just didn't see that part. I just wanted.
Well, that's probably what we would do, is call Conrad, and then he would let Mark know.
I just wanted to know who's gonna be over that. because
City
I-
ordinances are governed under the code enforcement.
Okay, I'm good then. But one of the reasons I say this is because we have these bonsai guys showing up, we have the flags guys showing up, and it's always on a Saturday morning or whatever, and Mark's not here. So that's why I'm asking. I'm just wanting to make sure that we have a way of not just letting some guy pull up his
They're
barbecue
gonna be
truck.
required to have a permit, but is it, are we always gonna catch each and every one?
Use your mic.
But I was gonna say, Mark he does work Sundays at times, so he'll flex hours during the week. He may work a Saturday, work a Sunday. We're obviously not out there 7 days a week, but there are times where he can come out on weekends and enforce some of the stuff that's going on in Summer Verde, so.
And as the city grows and more ordinance enforcement is needed, to do a part-time to handle some of those other items.
Well, I just want to make sure because I do know that some people are going by the rules.
No, I know.
You know,
there's
and I
those
just
that
don't
won't.
want them to get
Right.
messed by little Joe Johnny down here with barbecue or us.
No, I agree with
So,
you.
okay,
But
I
yeah,
just, that's always just
Code
trying to.
enforcement
Yep.
will do that.
Okay.
All right,
I'm
if there's no
good.
further discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, show that pass. All right, now we'll move to 7.5, the fiscal year 23 budget.
Use your
No.
mic.
Since I didn't see anything on the executive session, and you do know how conscientious that I am about the city's money, do y'all need me to stay for the budget portion?
We'll make you stay this.
Just so you know, he put the budget before the mobile food truck
you-
ordinance, just so I.
You asked me, so I'm going to refer that to the city administrator. Would you like him to feel pain and make him work?
No, I'm good with him
Okay,
going,
Michael, you're excused.
so we can get home.
Thank you. You too, bud.
And he's my ride, so I got to
Whatever.
He's all of our rides.
Nobody's leaving before I leave. All right. Conrad, you're.
All right, Mayor and members of council. Mayor and members of council, it's a pleasure to be here and talk about budget. Budget is one of the major, if not the most important things that you do as a city council member, because it gives you the opportunity, everything that staff does, everything that happens in the city, all ties back to the budget. So it's an important thing, and it's important to understand it and to get your questions answered and get your input in. Tonight is more of a component situation. It's not if you're looking at it and say, where's all the line items, where's all the budget? Well, we're working toward that. And if you look at the budget timeline, generally it's a year-long, the timeline, and next year you'll have a year-long budget timeline. But this one goes from the middle of July to the end of September, or the 1st of October, as you notice on your timeline. It meets all the requirements of state law. There is one, and you'll see that there's one, I think, potential error. I put in one place it says that we'll have a public hearing next meeting, and this one says not till September 13th. So I would propose that we have that public hearing on September 13th. So if you make that, or excuse me, on next time. So that gives the people a chance to hear it and to comment on it, and you're not approving it right the next item. So we'll have a public hearing next, we'll advertise it and have a public hearing next meeting, next city council meeting.
So
And-
that means we're going to be seeing the budget and having the same, and the public hearing on the same day.
Yeah, and it'll just be the tentative preliminary budget. And you look at it and you take no action.
It's like a
You'll-
first draft.
a first draft, you'll hear it, you'll see it, you'll participate in it, you'll ask questions in it. It will be in a format of the final budget, but you take no action. Like tonight, you don't have to take any action to this. It's just you're receiving components of the budget.
So that's that's August 26th.
August 26th, and it says that in the document as well.
Okay.
So it's just something that
So
you can
public
just
hearing on
scratch
the
out the September 13th
Yeah,
and
along
put
with
it
the normal
August
calendar.
26th. Okay.
And when does it have to get posted on the website? When does the budget get posted on the website?
Yeah, well, no, not after
You have
it's
to put it
adopted.
up like 30 days
No,
prior, right?
yeah, we'll put it on right away, like this week. And we've already given, and she has information on the tax rate and everything that it's already on the budget, right?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
the 23rd, not the 26th.
Okay, the 23rd.
Yeah.
All right, with the tax rate, which is the next item on there, the ad valorem tax rates, we worked with the Rockwall County CAD, as well as our accounting finance director. I don't know exactly what you call him, our contract director, Ray Smith. And you can see there, the next on there is the NNR rate and the VA rate. The NNR stands for no new revenue, and the VA stands for voter approved. Each one of those comes, and I guess you have a third choice, is you can go and raise it as much as you want, a tax rate. But then with however you want to deal with that tax rate, there's certain hoops you have to follow. It's like a flow chart. You choose this rate, you go this way. If you choose the VA rate, you go this way. If you choose the other, an additional rate, you go different. But basically, cities hit the NNR rate, the no new revenue rate, or the VA rate. The difference uniquely, and the rates are there that you see, the no new revenue is 0.107, and the VA rate is 0.108596. So with those two rates, and then you can see the maintenance and operation below it, as well as the debt revenue, which is the INS. Sometimes you see it, the interest and sinking fund. So those are the two that come from the ad valorem rate, the property tax rate. So if you see on the last line, the overall revenue for the NNR rate is $620,801. And the voter approved rate is just $11,100 more.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to push that issue.
Yeah,
We
I would
can deal
agree with the mayor
lower.
that for a small amount, with the NNR rate, the flow chart sort of stops. No public hearing, no publishing in the newspaper. We have no new revenue. We're keeping it. Only growth comes with us. So that's where we'll put the tentative budget using those dollars there. If you look in your financials that you got, the June financials, like it was the last council meeting or council meeting before,
Yeah.
you'll notice that the property tax collection rate was at 69%. And then when I first glanced at that, I thought, what city has 69% collection rates? Well, the city of McLendon-Chisholm has a 99.1 average collection rate. But if you know, the election went the other way, so we had to reimburse people. So that's what dropped it, if you're thinking like me, why are we 69%? Well, that's why, because we sent it all back to residents. So after that, and just for an FYI, out of all the, just as you know, out of all the current tax rates for the cities east of Lake Hubbard, Rockwall County, the lowest is 0.33. And it goes to between 3.3 and 5.3 for the different tax rates. And ours is, with NNR, will be 0.10, so 10 cents. So just that. And you'll see that in a format as you've seen it in the past, where we'll show just all about tax rates. That has to be approved after the budget, so it can be the next item after the budget, after you approve a budget, and that approves the tax rate. So you're gonna, end of the story, end of the budget year, you're gonna approve the budget, the FY23 budget, and the tax rate for FY23. Okay? And you'll also know that the timeline calendar, I failed to mention to you, it goes to approve the budget and the tax rate on the 13th of September, but it leaves the 27th wide open, which if you still need stuff to figure out, you'll got to get another 2 weeks to do that. So we'll try to get it all ready for you to, go forward on the 13th. But if we have to, we have that chance to do that. All right. Next.
So were you able to figure out why the M&O revenue at that no new revenue tax rate is $620,000? And it's actually less amount of money than we have this year? Because we have that 677. That's what I really don't understand. If it's no new revenue, how it can it be less?
Yeah. I contacted our finance accounting, Ray Smith, and he just said that's how the numbers worked out. That they got the rates and stuff from the state, or from the county, excuse me. But that is a great question, and it doesn't make sense. That's just the numbers working out. But the county worked it out, and our finance guy worked it out, and that's how the numbers work out. And you'll see those numbers that are behind that one sheet of paper of how it got worked out. So I put those in there so you could see it. But I will definitely follow up on that. And I will contact you, not wait for the next meeting. I will send something out to the council just if there's other things that we have.
I mean, it's really, really good that we had $808,000 in building permits, because otherwise we would be really, I'm sorry, $944,000. So $945,000 in permit revenue.
Well, I've got a question. So when we were talking about RCH earlier, and people were stating no new taps or no new permits for homes, that's just in the RCH area. That is not in High Point area, right?
Well, no, that's, I think what people were saying is they wanted the City of McLendon-Chisholm to stop issuing building permits. But that's only part of the equation, because the county issues the building permits for High Point Ranch, High Point Lake Estates, Poetry Ranch, all those other RCH customers.
But what I'm saying is no new building permits in the RCH area, but over in this area where it's High Point, we can still, right?
Well, the council has the ability to, as you look at the budget and you see the analysis for the budget, you see that it's a high dollar amount, which is abnormal. Usually it's property and sales and even franchise that comes before any type of thing, but we're a high growth city in our life cycle right now, and we're living off growth, some growth revenue. That's gonna go away or slow down. It won't go away because we'll change into renovations to our houses and other things, but it will slow down. It'll definitely slow down.
Am I wrong on that?
But yeah.
I am wrong?
No.
Oh.
No, you're
So
right that they
just
were
stating
talking
no,
about
if it's in the RCH
area
they
because they're
furnish
having the
water,
problems.
we don't issue any.
Well,
new-
that's,
We haven't made that decision.
No, I'm just
yeah,
saying
that's
that
up to
If
you.
we choose to, it's not like we're not gonna issue any building permits at all.
Right, if there's developments in other places that aren't in the RCH service,
Yeah.
CCN.
So, yeah. 'Cause I mean, I-
Blackline has a little small sliver, but High Point has a bigger one.
Yeah, but I'm just
Bigger
saying, so it's not completely cutting our legs off, you know.
Yeah, and Sonoma Verde, they've already, as the mayor discussed a little bit earlier, they've already said that they can provide water to build out for Sonoma Verde. RCH has given us, we have the,
Are we sure?
We're not sure of that,
We're
though,
not sure of
because
that.
well, they have committed to that.
They're
But they-
under contract,
Under contract is a better way to say it.
and that's a completely different discussion because they're under contract to do that, and if it comes down to it, that's what we will do.
Well, but like I said, even though it's like people are just wanting no new homes to be built. That's not correct. We're just not gonna do it in the RCH area.
If you choose to do that, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying,
I don't agree with people saying stuff.
you know.
We are not in a business to tell developers we've already agreed to development on that.
It's
Do
up
we
to-
have developments that have to figure out a water source? Yes.
Right.
That's on them. We're not in the water business. And then you start telling developers, no, you can't build, no, we're not gonna issue a permit. You're gonna see developers coming out of that.
Reach a con.
All right. So the next line item, number C, is new budget requests. If you look at the next sheet dated August 1st, you'll see the proposed, and these are just proposed increases to the budget, new things in the budget. When the budget's going to be presented to you, we will tell you the new items to the budget. We won't go over all the existing line items because you've already approved them. We may mark them a little bit and tell you that we under budgeted for utilities for the fire department. And so we adjusted to current year's, what we think is current year actual. However, we'll only tell you what's changed, what the new stuff is to the budget, to make it facilitated a little bit better. What we have on here, we have one-time costs. And if you look at the bottom of the page, if you follow the column down, you'll see about 6 one-time costs. And those one-time costs are a citywide survey, street signs, as we talked about earlier, the council dais chairs, which will steal your chairs that you're sitting in and put them in the conference room and get new chairs for the mayor and council out here. We do have some issues with liability issues with somebody flopping down on some of those chairs in the conference room and just going right over or whatever. So. Put in, and it's not based on any analysis, but part of that money that was put in there for street maintenance was to do some analysis so we can identify all our streets, condition of our streets, how much it costs for our streets, so we can start working on it, and the remainder will go for street maintenance, and consistent with the consolidated plan and what what you all have decided. That's not a magic number. It's not historically based. In the future, it will be. We'll take it right off the chart of the analysis that we have, and we'll go down and follow that analysis. The impact fees, and in your comprehensive plan, you talked about impact fees. That's a revenue source as well. As we have all this development, if we have to upsize water lines, or I guess not water lines, other lines that we have, or street width, or all different, based on the impact fees that you want to do, a major component of that impact fee is an analysis of land use and a comprehensive plan analysis. It's detailed, it works to the dollar amount and anticipated when you're going to use it, and it works all the way back to the building permit costs. And so if you have it could work back to $764 for a street impact fee per household. And that gets added on to your building permit fee, and that comes back to us to help us put in these things into the future, repair the streets, and upgrade the streets. So existing residents won't have any effect on them. It'll be the new residents that come in that are impacting us, impacting the quality of life for the existing residents. All right. And then upgrades for SH 205. You see that an entrance door repair. The door's been broken for a long time. We'd like to get that fixed. That's all the one-time costs. You'll see upgrades to SH 205. And that's in the consolidated plan as well. There's a lot of things. Landscaping is one thing that's been identified, but also, I believe it would be fantastic on the street sign, following that street sign momentum, is to get backlit streetlights for our 2 or 3 semaphore intersections that we have, and have them not the swinging cables, and that we have poles and black pole that really look at, you can make those look really sharp, so when people drive through our city, they're gonna say, wow, this looks nice. I think there's a backlit if you wanna go look, I think on 205 and John King, and one other, but a lot of them are just the swinging cables and the galvanized steel poles, and we can make those intersections look real nice, but I guarantee you TxDOT say, great, we can do it, it will cost X.
We, we've already done a hardscape,
Hardscape for some of those intersections.
Yep.
For the main
With the
intersection
main
at
entrance,
205 and 550.
Right, Main and Main.
And we have provided that to TxDOT, I do believe.
well,
Have we?
I don't think so, because Kimley Horn was supposed to get back with us. I'm not sure where we're at on that.
I'm talking with Kimley Horn, so
Okay,
I'll get
okay.
back and get with
Okay.
you on
So,
that.
yeah, so they're supposed to get back with us, because it was way too much, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had to scale
We
it.
had to
Yeah,
scale
you
it
need,
back.
you need to have the dollar figures so you
Yeah.
can make a good decision on what you want.
So we're waiting on them, because I guess that was when Rick left, is when
Okay.
he turned it back over to them, stating it's a little much, bring it back down a little bit.
That's right.
And
And
tech-
so I don't know where we're at on that. So,
The-
We are under contract with
but
Kimley
we've
Horn,
already,
though.
we've already
Right.
drawn it.
The
most of it
departments
up.
of transportation always start high and can be negotiated, yeah. Because, I mean, they do a lot of stuff and they don't want to underbid.
And we're also working, talking with Shelley, and we're working with TxDOT to apply for the Green Ribbon Program for the landscaping. And we won't do that yet for about a year or two. Yeah.
There's also, I was looking at it today, some federal money for streets. So we'll look at that, both new streets as well as street maintenance. So anytime we can get grant money to throw in here, we'll talk about the SAFER grant in a second for the one, or the ongoing, not the one time. But we will actively seek that. And then as we get it, we'll pull back the budget to use that for the budget. The other thing for the State Highway 205 that's in the consolidated plan is for broadband to get, I mean, we could put virgin lines in the street so we could run fiber in the future, so we didn't have to tear up the roads. And we probably should do that for all our new subdivisions too, just run conduit lines, empty conduit lines, so we can just shove the fiber through
The
there.
older neighborhoods need it. I know the newer
Those will
ones-
cost a little bit more.
And the older ones are the ones that need it.
Right.
The newer ones have already gotten all their
So if
fiber.
they already are doing
They're
that,
already
that's good.
done. It's just the older ones that you're gonna need to really concentrate.
Plus, we have the COVID relief funds.
COVID
that we
relief
could
funds.
use for broadband as well. We have earmarked that for some sewer work. We've put in Shelley's work that to get that earmarked, but we could potentially use some of that money for broadband.
All right. Then if you go the next couple columns over, you'll see, and it's the first column, it's all the projects, but as you go, the ongoing, there's 3 ongoing costs, and then a employee, either cost of living adjustment or market adjustment. These are for new employees, which includes, the first one is for public safety, fire for 3 new employees, plus raising the part-time from 12 hours to 24 hours. Fire department to become fully staffed needs 6 new, so we came about halfway to do that. But really, in reality, you can see what it costs for 3, and dividing that, if you want to go lower or higher, it's about, I mean, you could figure out real easy how much it's going to cost for that. But I know, talking with Chief Simmons, that any additional would help. I've asked that direct question to them. But 3 is what brings us halfway there to be fully staffed with that 24-hour part-time. The next one would be a new employee in development department, a planner 1. This is currently funded in this year's budget. However, the idea would be to hire a planner 1 instead of a planning director. Having someone with not as much experience, having somebody with a graduate degree coming out that doesn't have a lot of experience, 1 to 3 years, that can come into our city and which would greatly help our existing staff that sometimes Shelley thinks she's a planner. And she acts real good as a planner, and Judy. I mean, they're always answering questions, and half their workload sometimes, some days, are all development questions. We would have a planner 1 on staff that would learn and grow, and then we'd slowly, whether it's 2 months or 6 months or a full cycle, we'd weed off our contract planner to this planner to go full-time. This planner would be full-time, but to go be the sole person in the department that takes that. That's the idea for that. You look at the far right, how funded, you see the money that's in current year's budget. So we're working down of how much it's going to cost for that, and you see the total of 268, 568. Because it takes out current year's money that you already have funded. So the new money would be the 268. You see right above it the 399 for 80. But you can follow that, how that spreadsheet flows down. The last one would be a new employee for administration, a management analyst. As the short time I'm here, I see lots of things that aren't happening that will happen, will definitely happen, but they may not happen as fast as you may like them. And if the speed is good, speed's good. Things like purchasing and procurement, things like liability issues, risk management issues, things like HR issues that virtually we sort of pick up, and I think we miss a lot of things. And our staff works real hard at doing as much as they can, the best that they can. But I hate to have that exposure out there. So that's just a suggestion. Obviously, we would suggest the planning position. If you say which one, the planning position comes first by far. Because
Potential if you did the planner and then say we had good building permit for the following years, doing a budget amendment and perhaps adding that person in about 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. Sometimes you approve it and say you don't hire till, and you reevaluate it in March of the next year or something like you were just saying. So, anyway, that's how it is. The other thing would be a cost of living adjustment or a market adjustment. I checked on the Dallas-Fort Worth Arlington MSA for the period from June 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. And the CPI was 10.1%. Basically, the cost of buying regular goods and services went up 10% in our area. Giving them a market adjustment or cost of living adjustment meets them halfway. That's what that is. I think taking care of your staffs is important because they're the ones that do everything. So those are the only things on the budget requests. I put this out there so if there are other things that council can think of, which you said, God, I was hired and I really want to see this happen, please contact me. I'm going to be putting together this in a budget format to present to the mayor, and then we'll move forward for the next meeting on a tentative preliminary budget. And you may not like any of these, which is fine too. You may like some of these, but not at the price that you're seeing. If you look on the employee census, the next sheet in there, you'll see all of our employees, what their positions are. You see a quick little, I ask all the cities in Rockwall County for their numbers, and only 2 of them gave them to me. But they're working on stuff too. It's not like they're they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs. But I put the contract people and our staff, and so you can just get a look at that. And then on the back, you can see sort of the more detailed analysis, but also the employee increases if you want to change those. Those aren't as easy as the other way for the actual cost of a position. But you can see toward the middle to the end of the page, if you're interested in that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7%, and what it costs to raise that for them. So, if you have any questions on any of these things, we just wanted to throw out these budget requests and the census so you get a good idea. Generally, they're a high percentage of your overall budget are these 2 pages. And then the new stuff. So I definitely could have missed some of the new stuff that you really want to see. But the only other things we'll do is to correct existing line items and make them, either raise or lower them based on our last year's projections, so it's consistent. And that's all. So as you have thoughts and want to continue, next meeting will be the one where sort of the meat and potatoes of it all. Well, anytime, if you want to see it in the preliminary budget, if you can get it to me, and then I'll present it, like I said, I'll present it to the mayor because this is the mayor's budget that he's overseeing and developing. And so either talk to the mayor or talk to me about. Yeah, and then we'll sit down. And I think we'll have, it seems pretty small and simplistic, and it isn't like a great big huge budget, but we will, I promise you, we'll get more and more analysis and more details as we go on, and our 15-page budget will change for upcoming years. But this is the bones. You're getting everything anybody else is getting. You'll see next time what 2021 actual is, what the budget for 2022, the estimated actual of 2022, and the budgeted for 2023, all on a spreadsheet, so you can evaluate where we're going, how we're doing it. So you get more details, so you can do that analysis next time. All right.
You guys go through it and give them your ideas, your concerns, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting. Conrad, thank you for presenting all that information.
Yes, sir.
We didn't have an executive session. I don't have any updates, discussion, or direction to staff. I think we've covered everything we need to work on there. Does anybody have any reports or announcements? Because I can't think of anything tonight. If not, it is 8:40. Meeting adjourned. Let me. Huh?